Yeah. No, that Hey y'all. My name is Josh Chevalier at CFF Guys on X/Twitter. I'm so happy to be with you guys today. This is the College Football DFS show. It is week 10. So we have a few weeks left of these awesome main slates. And I got my boy Darren with me again today, as always. Darren, you want to introduce yourself and tell them where they can find you?
They can find me back in my office with a brand new computer. I'm not in the
Let's
wife's office
go.
anymore. Let's go. So let's see if we can get through this without any issues. So installed last night. So hopefully we are good to go. I was nervous just getting on.
Did you
Yeah, they
sound
can
good,
find me
man?
on all right, great. Find me on Twitter per usual at Boo Boo Jojo, and obviously in the Discord football weekend all the time. All right, interesting slate. Man, last week was kind of disappointing overall. I thought it'd be like, I don't know. I got
Yeah.
killed I got killed by Moss, and I think it's been like 6 weeks where I last second changed a running back out because somebody's been in or out, and
Yep.
it's just killed me. Last minute switch. I don't think I'm touching anything. Thanks,
Yeah.
Eric. What my glass? My glass is right. All right, cool.
Love it.
All right, let's do this. Ready?
Yeah. Yeah, let's go.
All right. Ohio State University against Rutgers. Ohio State is favored by 18. We got a 42.5 total. I'm not touching anything on the Rutgers side for obvious reasons. We know Mayan Williams is out for the year. Henderson, let's see. I'm sure it'll be a game time decision like 5 times before lock tomorrow, and it
Yeah.
will be a complete nightmare and mess. So I'm just done with the Ohio State running backs, man. I'm just freaking over it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Obviously Harrison. Igbuka, I guess, could have played last week. He's questionable. I guess he practiced a little bit this week. He's got a really good price, but the total's so low. And how much are they really going to need him against Rutgers? Um, Stover's price went back down a little bit. I don't mind him, for if you need like a punt type player. But this game, Harrison's Harrison, obviously. But this game overall kind of sucks, in my opinion. Henderson's also super chalky, but I just don't trust the running backs. But I'm sure this is the week where nobody trusts him and he scores 2 or 3 touchdowns. So I'm out in this game overall, unless no, there's no unless the other two running backs for Ohio State get ruled out tomorrow morning, then I'll play Henderson.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'll do it.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. Yeah. I mean, Trevion's been so nice lately. 28 touches last week with some of the injuries there, and that's always a nice floor to have, right? I think he had like 200 yards total of offense. He is tricky to get to. I do think he's a guy, when a guy like Henderson's talent gets to 6.5K, he gets into that range where people are going to start paying for him. So I can totally see why people would. And I do think this is the range in which you're going to go after running backs this week. I mean, I think there's a lot of them in this range that are pretty good. And Henderson's just one of those many. But man, like you kind of said, like Rutgers defense is very good. I think Marvin Harrison seems to be the player that if every week you just want to get different and pay up, you can go for him and he'll get you 30 points at 8.9K or whatever absurd number he is right now. But yeah, for the most part, I'm with you. Everything else is untouchable on both sides for me.
Okay, perfect. All right, we'll move along. We got Arkansas against my alumni, not my alumni, but close enough. Family's alumni, Gators.
Yeah.
We got a 50 total, nice little total, and Florida is favored by 5. Um, so Sanders is questionable for Arkansas running back. So Dominion's got a decent price. Armstrong, we've been playing quite a bit, consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Also a pretty good price on that part. Um, on the Florida side, Johnson, ETN, not really like a bell cow, so to speak, that I'm really looking for on that part of it. Mertz is, has got a pretty good price too. Wilson and Pearsall, I'm not sure if you got a preference on either one. I spoke about Purcell last week. Super talented. Love watching him play. Not just because of the Gators. Um, but yeah, it's a kind of a little weird game. You could do a Mertz, Wilson, Pearsall, or come back if Sanders is out. Dominion. I'm not going to play Dominion if Sanders is playing. I'm not going to play either one. If Sanders is ruled out, I might have a little bit of Dominion. I don't mind him. And Armstrong's also in play too. So that's where I'm at. Where you at? KJ said
Yeah,
he's a GPP dart every week, obviously.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna probably fade the Arkansas side of things until we figure out. They just fired their offensive coordinator, like where they're gonna go with that stuff, who they're gonna favor, kind of all that. So I'm out on that side of things. Although I don't blame you for going after it. On the Florida side, it's pretty simple for me. It's Eugene Wilson or bust. He's just so much fun to watch. I mean, a guy that goes up against Georgia and just has a really good game. I mean, he had that one catch and run, right, where he just outran 3 Georgia defenders, and it was just like nuts. Um, so he's a guy that, I mean, they're targeting what I think it's like 10 targets a game, almost 8 receptions, 75 yards is what he's averaging over the last 3 games, and he's got a touchdown in each of those. So he's averaging about 20 points. At 5.3K, he's still in that range. Now, his ownership is starting to go up because that makes it a little bit tougher to go after him. But 5.3 is just so cheap still for him that I'll go after him for sure. And shout out to Eric and Dan Brown in the building. Excited to have you guys join us today for sure.
All right, cool. We will move on. We got Notre Dame at Clemson. 44 and a half total. Clemson, excuse me, Notre Dame is favored by 3. Um, I haven't seen the latest on Shipley. We know he's questionable. I'll let you talk about the backup. Not the best total though, but they are at home. Um, Bringing Stool is actually interesting at tight end. Super cheap. Actually, also have a really good value on that side. Don't have much on the Notre Dame side. I just don't know what this total is. Some way better games than this one overall. But I'll let you talk about Bringing Stool and then the backup if he's viable tomorrow if Shipley misses.
Yeah, yeah. Maffa, he's a good back for sure, but at 5.5K, he's just not low enough for me to go after. Especially against this Notre Dame defense. But like you said, Brenning is like very interesting. He's going to be lower owned, right?
Mm.
If Tyler Brown is out again, which I think he had a prop up. I don't know if my mind's going crazy, but I'm pretty sure he had a prop up yesterday at 50 yards, and they took it down today on Price Picks.
Mm.
And so he's a guy that we need to look out for, see if he's unavailable. And if he is, then between him being out and Antonio Williams being out, then it could open up the seam, right, for a Jake Brenningstool to have more success. I mean, he's a guy that clearly Klubnik has some affinity for, and he's going to be lower owned and right in that price range, right, of like the 4.4K, sub 4.5K. So I really like that call a lot. I'm not touching anything on the Notre Dame side as far, as bad as Clemson is, this defense is still a good defense. And, Estime is about the only guy that I would even consider going after. But at 7.1K, it's like if I'm choosing between him or Ollie Gordon, it's going to be tough to fade Gordon. Um, so yeah, but Estime could be a way to get different, but still, it's a good defense.
All right. Next game, better game. But we got somebody on Meta, and shout out to Mr. Clutch. And I just missed it. My daughter came over. I missed it. I think couldn't get him out in time. He was all over. He's like, get Moss out of your lineups. It was like
Yeah.
5 minutes before lock, and shout out for our Discord. Billionth time joining a Discord. Everybody's helping each other. And he saw the news he was actually ruled out. He's probable. We'll see. He's super cheap. Nice game total against Ole Miss. Oh, sorry, the total is 54 and a half. Ole Miss is favored by 3. Um, so with as many people, I think there was like, what, 35-40% of the field had Moss already. So he's definitely in play as a GPP because typically people are pissed off that he didn't play the week before. I'm not playing that guy. He screwed me last week. That's the
Yeah.
mentality. The price is really good with a really nice total. Um, Max Johnson's in play. Um, I think I prefer Stewart over Smith. Um, Judkins, I don't know, maybe. I'm
Yeah.
back and forth. I'm using him or not. And I'm actually we got a old friends popping up here. Mr. Trey Harris. He is so I saw that price and I'm like my kind of ears went off. So that now that I'm talking about it, um, I'm locking him in because if I'm going to actually talk about it and cause it into existence, I'm going to play him. I love the total. I love the game environment. Love them being at home. Uh, so I'm interested in a little mini stack. Actually, would be you could do a Trey Harris and Moss if Moss is full go. But we'll have to see if there's any more news. Did we ever find out what the Moss injury or the reason why he missed?
I didn't hear. I didn't look it up. So
Okay,
yeah, I'm not sure.
okay. But that's where
Yeah.
I'm at. Wade isn't bad either for Ole Miss too. I like Wade, the wide
Yeah.
receiver. Um, what you got?
Yeah. I think those are really good. I'm probably not going to have any Trey Harris in this one, which means he's going to go off. So well done, sir. This is all you will be
Thank you.
clipping this tomorrow, for the socials. Uh, but yeah, I like the Max Johnson call at 6K. I mean, he's a guy that has been disappointing all year, but this is a group that is giving up some points to opposing quarterbacks, right? I mean, 20.9 fantasy points per game is what Ole Miss is giving up to opposing quarterbacks. So that makes him in play at 6K. So I like that, and of course, you could stack him with Anaya Smith or Evan Stewart, but Evans, Anaya Smith seems to be the guy that he prefers, and he's about $1,000 cheaper than Evan Stewart. So both of them are going to be pretty low owned. Max Johnson will be a little bit higher, but not too much. So yeah, love all those calls. I mean, that seems to be a good even stack in the super flex with a Dylan Gabriel if you're going to go that high. Like, he's in that 6K range. So Max
Yep.
Johnson, I mean, so that's good.
All right. Perfect. All right. Cool. Yeah, that might be. I'm kind of interested in this game. All right. So we're going to the next one. We got KSU against Texas. Um, is this the week that Brooks goes absolutely crazy? He hasn't had that crazy game lately. So I'm just wondering if this is maybe the breakout game against KSU. KSU is
Mm-hmm.
not very good. And Texas favored by four, 9.5 total, by the way. Sorry. We got Murphy starting with no Urs playing. I'll let you talk about would you prefer Worthy or Mitchell this week to go that route? Who's given up on that side? Um, Giddens is interesting. Lower owned running back against Texas. So I don't know. I think it's just about Brooks here more than anything, and that's who I have the most interest in. For Murphy, looked pretty good last week. But I don't know if I want to play Murphy and Brooks in the same lineup together. So this is kind of a weird game. I like to call pieces here and there, but nothing's like really standing out outside of Brooks.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, Price Picks has Malik Murphy's projection at 180 yards.
It,
And then I
wow.
think they have AD Mitchell or Adonai at like 38 yards. And so, there's something clearly that the odds makers, the people that have all this data, they're seeing something. And I think one of the things is Kansas State's just tough against opposing quarterbacks. Um, but I do imagine that they're going to stack the box against Jonathan Brooks, and they're going to make Malik Murphy beat them. And look, Malik Murphy, he can't throw a deep ball. He was shaky last week for sure, but they have the weapons and they can make a dent. I actually like Malik Murphy in this game at 6.3K. I mean, I think that's just so cheap. And I just think game script, like Kansas State, like they're smart. They're gonna make Malik Murphy beat them, and we'll see if he can do it. But yeah, it's not a great matchup for Malik, but I do like him this week. And if I'm gonna pair him, it's probably gonna be with Worthy and he's 6.7K, but he's a guy that he did target him last week, and he liked him. He just didn't, Malik Murphy he struggled last week for sure. JT Sanders looks like he might be out. looks like he re-aggravated an ankle injury in practice this week. So that's just something to monitor. At 4.7K, he looked attractive to me, but then finding that out, that kind of dampers that. But the other thing here is that this Kansas State defense is giving up. They're kind of a bottom 40 defense as far as the amount of points they're giving up to opposing wide receivers. So there is some, some stuff
Yes.
there, but Worthy's where I would go with that personally. But I don't mind your Brooks call at all. I mean, how can you not go after Brooks? He's just so solid and consistent. You can't. And I also think Baxter is another one that like you could go after, even if K-State's going to stack the box. I mean, this is a running game that is legit, and so I think all of these guys in play. It's like, man, is any of this like, are they going to be great plays? I don't really know, to be honest. K-State also, like, historically, they just really play Texas tough. But so it's my gut that goes after Malik Murphy and goes, man, this could be a good game for him. But everything, if you're just reading the data, you're like, man, all of it kind of says stay away from the passing game. And so from that perspective, this is going to be a hard game to really figure out, unless you're going to go with, Jonathan Brooks, which we would always go with that because he's just awesome. With you, what you said with Giddens, I think he's certainly in play right at 6.3K. I mean, this is a Texas defense that's only giving up 15 points, in totality to all opposing running backs. So not just an RB1, but they're a top 10 defense against opposing running backs. So just be aware of that. But what I don't know what else Kansas State's going to do. They're not a dynamic passing attack. So they're kind of have to go strength for strength here. And Giddens is very talented. So I like that too.
Yeah. All right. We'll pass on the next game. It's Army Air Force. And the next game, it's stupid. It's Army Air Force, 31.5 total. Air Force favored by 18. I'm not paying, I don't care if he goes off, oh well. I'm not paying, a 30% Emmanuel Michelle, 30%, and the total's 31.5.
Yeah.
Oh well, enjoy if he goes off. All right.
Right.
Have fun with that. 6,400 with a 31 total. Nope, not for me. That's he burns me. Congrats for playing, but 30% at 31 total. Nope, I have nothing else to say about this game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Michelle will be high owned, and everyone should know that. But, yeah, he's a guy we should fade for sure. They like to feed also Burke, who's another kind of B back that they have back there, and they do interchange. So, it's not like Michelle gets a lot of carries, but he's not the only one getting carries at even his particular position in that offense. So I think just being aware of that is something we should be. So that's all I got to say.
Okay. All right. Penn State, Maryland, total of 50.5, and Maryland is favored by 8. Kind of like Hembry in this game. Actually, he's actually a little bit lower. Yeah, he's lower owned for sure. Looks like Wallace for the receiver for Penn State's out, but he was low usage. He wasn't doing much anyway. So this make Lambert Smith a little bit more attractive, and Johnson a receiver. Obviously, you got Singleton and Allen, still mixing in there. It's a nice total actually, but Tagovailoa is super tough to peg, man. It's just like once out of every 5 weeks you can get him right. It's just a tough one to peg. I think I like Hembry the most in this game. Home favorite, nice total, home favorite running back, and lower owned than, he's probably like, man, how far low is he? He's probably like that 8th or 9th, or maybe even lower owned running back on the slate. So, weird game. I could do a mini stack with Hembry and Lambert Smith. I'm okay with that. If you want to do a mini, but I'm probably not going to be using the quarterbacks, Aller or Tagovailoa in this one. Not for me.
Yeah. I mean, this is a defense, Penn State, that's number 1 against opposing running backs and fantasy points scored. So it's just tough. I mean, of course, Hemby can hit. He's very talented. But on the Penn State side of things, Keandre Lambert Smith, if you wanted to pay 6.5K for him. It's just going to be hard to, like, as we get into other wide receivers, it's like, all right, yeah, if you're going to put him in one GPP lineup and then he goes off, it's like, cool. But a guy averaging 14 points a game with a quarterback that's pretty broken right now and Drew Alar, I mean, it's just a tough sell, from a GPP perspective, and certainly not from a cash perspective. So yeah, I'm overall I'm avoiding this game. I think I wish Penn State running back somebody would separate and there'd be something obvious, but they're not even exploding the way they did a year ago. Like, right? Like something like they'd have 25, 30 point games a year ago. And that's just not happening very often this year.
All right. All right. We'll move on. We got Virginia Tech at Louisville. We got a 48.5 total. Louisville is favored by 9.5. Thrash disappointed last week, but I'm going to continue playing him. I don't care. He's just my boy. I'm just going to continue playing him all year long. Jordan at running back is also super chalky. I don't know if I'd play both together or not. Plummer, it doesn't. Don't think he has enough upside. He had like that one monster game after I played him 3 weeks in a row. So now I'm saying it again. He'll probably have a great game. Virginia Tech's all kinds of banged up. Tootin at running back. I guess he was in a blue non-contact jersey this week. Jennings is questionable. I don't know what's going on with that part of it on that side of it. But I don't mind eating a chalk with either Jordan or Thrash. Maybe even probably not Coleman. I'm just going to play Thrash. I'm not going to play both. I play Coleman and Thrash together if I was playing Plummer, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, like I said, pretty banged up. So I think I probably got a little bit more interested in. Oh God, no, I'm playing Thrash. I'm playing Thrash every week. I don't know. I might just play both and not have any comebacks at all. You got anything
Yeah.
in this game outside of Jordan
Yeah.
and
I
Thrash?
mean, yeah. So I think Jordan for sure. So I'm actually probably going to fade Thrash in most of my lineups and in favor of Gerard Jordan, just because this Virginia Tech defense is absolutely horrendous against opposing running backs. They're giving up an average of like 20 points a game. They've given up a lot of big games, including Trey Benson had, I think, like 10 carries for 166 yards. I mean, this plays into what Gerard Jordan does. And this just seems like a game that is just tailor-made for him with how bad they are against opposing running backs, in contrast to how good they are against opposing wide receivers, where they're number 2 in the country against opposing wide receivers in fantasy points given up, and only given up 23.9. So is that because they're so bad against opposing running backs? Like, I don't know. I'm not watching every Virginia Tech game, but yeah, and this is a game that is at home for Louisville, so I guess that is in their favor here. On the other side, though, like with Kyron Drones at 6.3K, he is a bit intriguing to me because of his running ability. But this Louisville defense is not bad, so it's not like this is going to be a favorable matchup. I think if you're going to choose between like a Drones or Max Johnson, who are in the same price range, like who are you going to choose? I think I'm going to Max Johnson.
Me too.
Because of the matchup and the receivers that he has to play with. But I guess Kyron, if you didn't like Max Johnson, then you could hit him up and put him in your lineups. So yeah, that's all I got. Nothing else. Tootin, yeah, blue non-contact, staying away from the rest of this year.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. We got FSU 50.5 total. FSU's favored by 21.5. Johnny Wilson is questionable. I don't like anybody from the Pittsburgh side. I'm going to let you take it away because I'm going to cough a couple times.
Nah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I think in this game, I think we have to look to see if Johnny Wilson's going to play again. He was out last week, and if he's out again, then we have Keon Coleman there at 7K, and he's interesting. Although this Pittsburgh defense is tough against opposing wide receivers, and then man, in GPPs, I think we should definitely consider Trey Benson, 6.8K. And this is a defense that's just given up a ton of yards and fantasy points to opposing running backs. They're ranked 106th, giving up 30 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. And so, if this is the week that Trey Benson goes off, then, it'd be great. But Trey Benson for me is unplayable in cash because he's inconsistent, but a guy that we should sprinkle into some GPP lineups because he does have that high ceiling every week, and this Pittsburgh defense is pretty bad. Jordan Travis is another one at 9K. You can play him naked, but this is a tough defense, and at 9K, it's like if you're going to ask me, if I'm going to go against this defense, with a 51-point total versus Dylan Gabriel at 8.9K, and he's going to have a much higher total. Both team total is going to be good, and then also the game total, potential shootout. Then I'm going to go Dylan Gabriel there over Travis. So, but yeah, those are options. Nothing on the Pittsburgh side. They're just a mess. Time for them to just mail it in for the season. Call it a day.
All right, we'll move on. We got Georgia. We got a 56.5 total, and they are favored by 15. We know Bowers is out still. Might have a little bit of interest in Edwards here. Home favored running back, nice total. Lovett, McDonkey, I'll let you talk about those guys. But I think I kind of like Edwards this week, and he's not showing much ownership either. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, it's imprinted in my mind a few weeks ago when Missouri played LSU and they just could not stop Logan Diggs to save their life. He just ran all over him. So Edwards is similar. I mean, I do worry a little bit about Milton coming back, but that didn't affect things too much last week. Edwards had a great game against Florida. So yeah, I can see it at 7.3K with Edwards for sure. I also like, Carson Beck. I mean, he's a guy that just week in and week out, like he's a really good quarterback. He's not the Konami code dual threat guy that we really, really like. But in cash lineups, if you want to play him, I'm not going to blame you. And I think to stack him with a Lad McConkey, who just seems to be consistent, seems to be maybe the guy that's getting a lot of that work inside. With Brock Bowers out, I wouldn't mind that. I think Dominic Lovett at 6K is also somebody that you could think about against this Missouri team. So yeah, primarily I would go after this game. The Georgia wide receivers, Lovett or McConkey, are the two guys I'd consider most, and Edwards for sure too. And then on the Missouri side, as much as I want to go after Burden, I mean, this Georgia defense is just tough. And, I don't know if it's just tough for defenses or if he's still injured a little bit like Luther Burden, but he hasn't been the same since he's had that injury. And then you're going up against this team. That's tough. Father Well says, bring Schrader back on this. And yeah, man, I mean, golly, it's just tough. Like, if it's not a man crush that I have on Eugene Wilson, I'm just not playing anyone against Georgia. But I hear you, Father Well. If you want to do that, I won't blame you.
All right, we'll go to a pretty fun game. We got JMU against GSU.
Oh,
54.5 total, and JMU's favored by 5.5. And DraftKings broke the prices on Brown and Surratt, and Surratt right now is showing almost, where's he at? Almost 60% being owned. And Reggie Brown is close right behind him. And then Black is about half the ownership. But when you say half the ownership, he's still 27%.
yeah.
Man, oh man. So Surratt, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on what to do here. Um, try and be a little bit different. I don't know, man. It's a super fun game. Granger's interesting. I'm gonna ask. I'm kind of curious who you prefer between Lewis and Williams, and Carroll also is kind of interesting, catches some passes. Um, but yeah, the price that broke on this, and obviously it's like I don't think you can play both. I guess if you play cash, I guess you can play both. Um, yeah, it's kind of a weird game. So when you want to play black, you want to play all three of them, but you can't really. Just I do max two, but I don't know. It's a strange one on this. This is a strange one. I love the game, but I'm not sure if like the lineup building this week's gonna dictate this. What you think?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I'm a JMU alumni, so I actually watch quite a few of their games and research them quite a bit in the off season. And Georgia State too. Like I really like Georgia State. I liked Marcus Carroll coming into the year. He was like one of my sleepers, and CFF. And this is a game that's super interesting, right? Like JMU is by far the number one run defense in the nation. And so Marcus Carroll is going to have a decent ownership percentage. And I would just say, man, maybe he does that. Maybe he's the one that breaks this defense. But this is a defense that's giving up 1.5 yards per carry and like 48 yards a game. And they played like Rasheen Ali. I mean, they played some decent running backs like this year. So it's not just that they played scrubs. So I don't think Carroll's going to be the guy. I mean, definitely fade him and this. And then, but because they're so good against the run, like people have just had to throw against them and they've had success. Both the JMU defense and the Georgia State defense are giving up 288 yards passing per game around that. And so, these passing, both these teams are going to be forced to throw the ball. And as much as it's going to be chalky, like there's just going to be guys that I'm going to want to stack. I'm going to want Granger in this game, and I want to stack him. I like Lewis a lot. I mean, he is definitely the wide receiver one there. But if you go $1,000 cheaper with Talik Williams, then you just are able to do so much more with your lineup, and there's going to be just a much less ownership percentage there. And this guy last week, right? He had 2 catches for 4 yards against Georgia Southern, but before that, he had 2 back-to-back weeks where he's like 100 plus yards and a touchdown in games and 6 catches. And so, I mean, this is a guy that that can, like Talik Williams as a slot, can put up numbers. JMU, the top 5 slot receivers against them have gone bonkers. I mean, now these are pretty good slot receivers that they played. Malik Washington, Terrell Vaughn, like they're not scrubs, but JMU has, for whatever reason, 5 of the top 7 wide receiver 1 weeks have been slot receivers, and they've crushed it. Now, that's what Talik Williams plays, right? Robert Lewis will go in and out, but he's probably 70% on the outside, 30% on the inside. So, I don't know, man. Like, I think Talik Williams is definitely a good GPP play. And on the other side, like, Surratt is my boy. Like, I have so much Surratt in CFF and Dynasty and all those things. Transfer from St. Francis that came in. And he's definitely a safety, like a security blanket for McLeod. And since his usage has gone up, McLeod's efficiency and effectiveness has gone up. But like Reggie Brown has been the guy that's been more explosive, right? If maybe I would say it this way, Surratt is probably better to play in cash. I mean, you can play both in cash, but Surratt's probably better to play in cash. But like Reggie Brown just seems to have the higher ceiling as like the premier deep threat in that offense. And he's been unlocked as Surratt has come on and been kind of more of a possession type. Even though they're both averaging around 20 yards, the way that they're doing it is different, right? Surratt's a bigger wide receiver, more of a red zone target possession guy. And Reggie Brown is more of just your explosive receiver that's going to get a lot of yards downfield. So I don't know, man. You can play all that. I would not play Kalen Black. They, like JMU, loves to rotate running backs. And Black is certainly the best one, but Tyson Lawton could easily go off as well. I mean, he's a very, very, very good running back. So I'm a little bit surprised that McLeod's ownership percentage isn't higher, and he's a guy that I would try to stack in this game because I think his floor is 24 points a game. That's what he's had for the last 6 or 7 weeks, but his ceiling is in the 30s, and so just that combination of high floor, high ceiling, I love that. All right. I just talked way too much about JMU and Georgia State, but I do think it's just a fascinating game.
It is, yeah.
It's sad that they priced it in such a way that you almost have to play these guys because I think there could have been some good edges here, and now it's just you got to figure out who you're going to fade, and it's like, man, I don't really want to fade any of them because they're just putting up absurd numbers right now. So I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah. Well, this last game on the slate may make it a little bit easier. Boy, oh boy. Fun game. Oklahoma State, 60.5 total. Oklahoma is favored by 6. Walker's questionable for Oklahoma. Ollie Gordon, dude. My goodness gracious. Dude is just stupid right now. It's the only word for it. And, obviously the ownership's going to show it. He's showing almost 60%. It's like, man, oh man. I don't know what you do here. I think a GPP move is to play Bauman. And with Brace being questionable, it's probably play Bauman and Presley. That's my opinion. Play Bauman, Presley, especially if Bray's not going to play. I like the extra usage. I've been hitting on receivers pretty much every week when someone's out. So Presley would be the way there. I'll let you talk about who you think has the best matchup as far as the receivers go for Oklahoma. And obviously Gabriel, expensive, but he's Gabriel. He's an amazing game environment. So you could go, I guess you could go the other way. You could do a Gabriel stack, but don't come back with Ollie, come back with one of the receivers Presley owns on that side. So, yeah, Presley, Johnson, Gabriel.
Yeah,
I like it. Ollie. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. It depends on bills, depends on news. But I'm leaning Presley right now, and then maybe if I can fit a Gabriel and I want to see what you say about the receivers on the Oklahoma side, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to figure out what's going to happen with Farouk, right? He just got arrested, I think last night.
Oh, I missed that. He did? Oh,
but it's for like unpaid parking tickets. Now, I got, between our Discord, who has, we have some OU guys or Oklahoma fans in general. The state of Oklahoma football fans. That are really knowledgeable, but I also have some other group texts with some Oklahoma fans too. And so the word that I've heard so far is, all right, unpaid parking tickets is why he got arrested. They're probably not going to suspend him for the whole game, but maybe for the first quarter.
Oh.
So what you do with that? Yeah, what you do with that? Yeah, I think Nick Anderson is actually absolutely viable, right? Like we've seen this time and time again where lots of wide receivers is what you talked about earlier, right? When Le'Veon Moss doesn't play, people fade him. Well, Nick Anderson played and did not play well last week. Mainly because they just ran Walker the whole time, but this could be a classic bounce back week for him this week against Oklahoma State. And so I think Nick Anderson, he at least has a first quarter head start against Jaleel Farouk to try to get ahead and to get that chemistry down with Gabriel. And so I like Anderson, right? I think he's 5.6K this week, ownership in the teens, maybe. Depends on how much this, news comes out, I guess. I also like Sawchuk a little bit. If Tawee Walker, if we find out that he's out for this game, which it sounds like right now he is, earlier in the week, our boy Venable said fingers crossed that he plays. I will say that we did. He did show up in a practice, and was stretching with pads on and stuff like that. But then, I just read some stuff on message boards that seemed to allude to Walker being out. Majors, Marcus Majors probably out too. So it seems like Sawchuk could be the guy at 4.4K and might be a last minute change which would be advantageous for us, right? Um, and maybe we could hit a lower ownership there. So I think that's just something to watch. On the other side of things, I love what you said. Like it almost feels like this slate overall is like split down the middle between cash ownership and lineups and GPP, right? And this game is the GPP game, and the JMU Georgia State game is the cash game. Maybe, I think you
I like that.
alluded to that a
Yeah.
little bit, but it feels like that, and it feels like that in this way. It's like what if we do fade Ollie Gordon and GPPs, and we go with, like you said, the Bowman Presley stack? And for me, it's like Bowman Leon Johnson, right? A guy that went off last week. They're writing feature articles on him this week. They're alluding to him being more featured in the offense. They're burning his red shirt, which they weren't going to do before. And so this is a guy at 6'5". They think he has a place in the system at 4.5K. He's nothing. And he allows us to get up in other areas, right? Like this is the guy, the Bowman Leon Johnson stack is what allows you to go after Gabriel, and then maybe put up some other higher price running backs like Jawar Jordan and things like that. You could potentially stack Jordan and Thrash, which we are kind of going back to earlier. But I don't know. Leon Johnson just opens up some stuff for us. So I really like him in GPPs. He's showing almost no ownership percentage right now, which I'm kind of surprised by. I mean, I'm assuming most people just think it was a fluke last week, but yeah, what all of us do in this Discord. We watch press conferences and read coaches quotes, and it seems like and I think Poke you also alluded to, yeah, they have a game plan for Leon Johnson. So obviously we don't know till rubber meets road, but I think Leon Johnson's definitely in play this week, and I'm going to play him in GPPs for sure.
Yeah, I like that call. Yeah. Super sharp. All right. Do you see anything in any questions? We finished the slate. What you got? You see anything in there?
Yeah. Let's see. I like what Father Well said here at the very end here. He said, fade Gordon and stack others with one from JMU game for GPP. Yeah. I think that's the way. I mean, eventually it's not, eventually Gordon isn't going to go off. And so I think, yeah, even if you just do that and, a little bit, it's worth it. So, and Eric over here said Johnson's week was so quiet last week. I honestly don't think that many people have paid attention to him. It's all Ollie hype. That is a really good point. Ollie is kind of taking that shine, and people maybe didn't recognize what Leon did. So very, very, very good point. I think that's something that we should take advantage of in our GPPs. So, all right, that's all I got. I don't see any other questions in the chat. And yes, there was one question, and that was, holy hell, there's an afternoon slate right up too. This is a great transition to the end of this conversation if you don't have anything else. You got anything else, Darren?
I don't.
That was Kill Case, by the way, that said that. Yes, we are changing things up a little bit here at Fantasy Points. For years, Kill Case and others have been asking us to write a night slate article on Saturday nights, and we aim to please. And Darren, there we go. And we aim to please. So we're going to do that, right? Starting this week, we're going to be writing up the main slate, which we always do. I'm also going to write up the afternoon slate, which, really is the same games, just less of them than the main slate. And so there will be a lot of duplicates and crossover in that article. But then I got our boy, CFF champ Zach Hall, who does all of our projections. He's the brains behind a lot of this stuff. He's writing up our night slate. He's super sharp. And we are now transitioning to only writing up midweek slates that have 3 games or more, right? So the 2-game slates or less, we're not going to play. We just found it to be, right, large sample size now of 2 years of like, it's just a lotto ticket. And so let's just put our energy and our time into things that are more of us are paying attention to during Saturdays, and like just give us more of a, there's more games in play there. So we're gonna lean into that and do that. And so I'm really excited about these changes. I think it's going to be really beneficial. And man, but what's our Discord going to do on Saturdays? You know, we talk so much during the day. It's just going to extend until like midnight. You know,
Yeah,
checking out this USC Washington.
Yeah, what happens is it starts slowing down. Like you're either in it, you're not, and then like mostly, craps happen where nobody's alive, and then it's just quiet. But now we got the night slate. Nobody's leaving their house, so it's gonna
I
be
know.
nobody's ever gonna leave their house. Oh, the night slate. Then it's like we have a little bit of chat. Who do you like for the night slate? But now we can have projections and articles and stuff. It's like, my gosh, freaking this, Saul. What was it, Saul Part 12? Like tie yourself
Yeah.
to the chair and don't leave. And
Yeah.
then football all day Sunday too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, all right, good show. News. I'm super interested on Bray if he's
Yeah.
playing, and then a couple few others. Because I'm on the Bowman train, but hopefully Bray misses and Leon Johnson and or Presley. I might even double stack it. What the hell?
Yeah.
Double stack that game. I Bauman, Presley, and Leon, and come back with Anderson. How's that? In a way to be
Yeah.
different. That's a
Yeah.
way to do it. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Good show. Thank you for having me, per usual. And I'll let you say goodbye.
Yeah. Well, hey, if anybody wants to join our Discord, you can sign up at fantasypoints.com. You get the NFL premium package to get all the NFL content, and you get college. We'd love to have you join us. We're growing by the week. And man, truly, like, this Discord and the conversations we have are worth the price of admission. I mean, we just have, just a great collaborative community that's come together, that's really helping each other out, not being competitive or withholding information. And those type of communities they're just fun to be a part of, right? When we all have a shared hobby in common. And it's good to see that part of humanity together. But it's fun to also win money together, and we're doing that. So join us in that Discord. We'd love to have you. But that's all I got. Peace.